Welcome everyone to English Quiz 321. Today we brought you the 2026 World Cup Commentary Lexicon, featuring 300 phrases, vocabularies, and expressions. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. 1. The national anthems are playing with pride. Two, a dream come true for these young players. Three, the weather conditions are perfect for football. Four, a tactical chess match is expected today. Five, both managers look incredibly focused on the touchline. Six, the stadium is packed to its full capacity. Seven, underdog status won't stop them tonight. 8. Tonight. 8. They have everything to play for. 9. The tournament favorites are under immense pressure. 10. A sea of color in the stadium seats. 11. He controls the ball beautifully. 12. A pinpoint cross into the penalty area. 13. They are knocking the ball around with confidence. 14. An aggressive interception in midfield. 15. A brilliant solo run through the defense. 16. He threads a beautiful through ball. 17. The pace of the game is breathtaking. 18. Retaining possession is their main strategy. 19. A sweeping counterattack from the back. 20. He cuts inside on his stronger foot. 21. What a sensational goal. 22. He hits it on the volley. 23. The goalkeeper had absolutely no chance. 24. It hits the crossbar and bounces out. 25. A textbook header into the bottom corner. 26. He curls it beautifully into the top corner. 27. The stadium erupts in celebration. 28. An absolute screamer from long range. 29. He taps it in from close range. 30. An own goal. Complete disaster for the defender. 31. The referee points to the penalty spot. 32. VAR is checking for a potential handball. 33. A straight red card. He is sent off. 34. He escapes with just a verbal warning. 35. The decision is overturned after review. 36. Protests from the players around the referee. 37. The simulation was caught. That's a yellow card. 38. The referee is playing an advantage. 39. A controversial call by the linesman. 40. Offside. The goal will not count. 41. They are dominating the midfield battle. 42. A high pressing system causing turnovers. 43. Their defensive shape is completely unbreakable. 44. Exploiting spaces behind the fullbacks. 45. They need to make a tactical substitution soon. 46. Zonal marking versus man-to-man marking. 47. Transition phases will decide this match. 48. XG, expected goals, favors the home side. 49. A masterclass in counterattacking football. 50. They are over-relying on individual brilliance. 51. Heartbreak for one nation, pure joy for another. 52. They have qualified for the knockout stages. 53. An absolute classic that will be remembered forever. 54. The underdogs have pulled off a massive shock. 55. They go out of the World Cup on penalty shootouts. 56. The whistle blows. It's all over. 57. Scenes of pure emotion on the pitch. 58. They defended like heroes until the final second. 59. The captain lifts the trophy in glory. 60. An epic battle ends in a dramatic draw. 61. And look at that. The national anthems are playing with pride. 62. And look at that. A dream come true for these young players. 63. And look at that. The weather conditions are perfect for football. 64. And look at that. A tactical chess match is expected today. 65. And look at that. Both managers look incredibly focused on the touchline. 66. And look at that. The stadium is packed to its full capacity. 67. And look at that. Underdog status won't stop them tonight. 68. And look at that. They have everything to play for. 69. And look at that. The tournament favorites are under immense pressure. 70. And look at that. A sea of color in the stadium seats. 71. And look at that. He controls the ball beautifully. 72. And look at that. A pinpoint cross into the penalty area. 73. And look at that. They are knocking the ball around with confidence. 74. And look at that. An aggressive interception in midfield. 75. And look at that. A brilliant solo run through the defense. 76. And look at that. He threads a beautiful through ball. 77. And look at that. The pace of the game is breathtaking. 78. And look at that. Retaining possession is their main strategy. 79. And look at that. A sweeping counterattack from the back. 80. And look at that. He cuts inside on his stronger foot. 81. And look at that. What a sensational goal. 82. And look at that. He hits it on the volley. 83. And look at that. The goalkeeper had absolutely no chance. 84. And look at that. It hits the crossbar and bounces out. 85. And look at that. A textbook header into the bottom corner. 86. And look at that. He curls it beautifully into the top corner. 87. And look at that. The stadium erupts in celebration. 88. And look at that. An absolute screamer from long range. 89. And look at that. He taps it in from close range. 90. And look at that. An own goal. Complete disaster for the defender. 91. And look at that. The referee points to the penalty spot. 92. And look at that. VAR is checking for a potential handball. 93. And look at that. A straight red card. He is sent off. 94. And look at that. He escapes with just a verbal warning. 95. And look at that. The decision is overturned after review. 96. And look at that. Protests from the players around the referee. 97, and look at that. His simulation was caught. That's a yellow card. 98, and look at that. The referee is playing an advantage. 99, and look at that. A controversial call by the linesman. 100, and look at that. Offside. The goal will not count. 101, and look at that. They are dominating the midfield battle. 102, and look at that. A high-pressing system causing turnovers. 103, and look at that. Their defensive shape is completely unbreakable. 104, and look at that. Exploiting spaces behind the fullbacks. 105, and look at that. They need to make a tactical substitution soon. 106, and look at that. Zonal marking versus man-to-man marking. 107, and look at that. Transition phases will decide this match. 108, and look at that. XG, expected goals, favors the home side. 109, and look at that. A masterclass in counter-attacking football. 110, and look at that. They are over-relying on individual brilliance. 111, and look at that. Heartbreak for one nation, pure joy for another. 112, and look at that. They have qualified for the knockout stages. 113, and look at that. An absolute classic that will be remembered forever. 114, and look at that. The underdogs have pulled off a massive shock. 115, and look at that. They go out of the World Cup on penalty shootouts. 116, and look at that. The whistle blows. It's all over. 117, and look at that. Scenes of pure emotion on the pitch. 118, and look at that. They defended like heroes until the final second. 119, and look at that. The captain lifts the trophy in glory. 120, and look at that. An epic battle ends in a dramatic draw. 121, unbelievable. The national anthems are playing with pride.
Imagine for a second, right, that you are sitting in this massive, ultra-modern stadium.
Oh, man, yeah.
It's the summer of 2026. The World Cup is just, in full swing.
The energy would be insane.
Completely insane. You can literally feel the vibration of 80,000 screaming fans. It's vibrating right up through the soles of your shoes.
Right, right.
And the smell of the freshly cut pitch is, it's mixing with the scent of flares and just pure anticipation.
That classic stadium smell, there's really nothing like it.
Exactly. But, okay, what if you could process the agony, the tactical brilliance, and the sheer ecstasy of that game in two completely distinct languages at the exact same time?
No, that is a wild thought.
Right. Well, today on our deep dive, we have our hands on this truly fascinating document. It's the 2026 World Cup Commentary Lexicon.
And it's huge.
It is. It's a comprehensive index of English and Amharic phrases, basically mapping out how the beautiful game is described, analyzed, and, celebrated in both languages.
Yeah, it's such a unique source material.
It really is. We are going to unpack the mechanics of football commentary today. Everything from the tactical chess match all the way to those agonizing VAR reviews.
Oh, the VAR reviews. Don't even get me started.
I know, we'll definitely get there. But the goal is to see how language itself actually shapes the sport you are watching.
Yeah, and looking closely at this source material, the most striking element isn't actually the vocabulary itself.
Really? What is it then?
It is the mathematical and emotional architecture the creators used to build it.
The architecture. Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, we aren't just looking at a random list of 300 things a broadcaster might yell into a microphone.
Right, it's not just a phrase book.
Exactly. The lexicon is actually built on a highly systematic matrix.
A matrix.
Okay.
Let's break that matrix down for the listener. Because, when you first look at the document, 300 phrases seems like a whole lot to memorize.
It is a lot. It's overwhelming at first glance.
But the structure reveals that there are really only 60 core football events being described here.
Yeah, just 60.
Things like a cross into the box, a manager standing on the touchline, or maybe a player receiving a yellow card.
Right. Those 60 base events represent the raw, objective reality of the match.
The actual physical things happening on the graph.
Exactly. But, as any fan knows, football is not an objective experience.
Not even a little bit.
No. So the lexicon multiplies those 60 physical events by 5 distinct, what they call commentary emotional states.
Okay, emotional states.
Yeah, and this maps perfectly onto the cognitive load a commentator is actually under.
How do you mean?
Well, they aren't just reading a list of facts, right? They're processing a live, totally unpredictable physical event.
Yeah, in real time.
In real time. And instantly modulating their emotional delivery to match the flow of the game.
I see. The modifiers.
Yes, modifiers.
Let's run through them. So you have the baseline state, which is just the factual reporting of the event.
Just the data. He passed the ball.
Right. Then you have the hype state.
That's the fun one.
Definitely. This is marked by a phrase like, and look at that. Or in Amharic, the source has eski yehinen temelketu.
Eski yehinen temelketu. Yeah, that's great.
Then there is the disbelief state, prefaced by something like unbelievable.
Or yimetemen nu in Amharic.
Yimetemen nu, exactly. Next is the analytical state, using, as we can see, or endi nu kihome.
Right, slowing things down.
Yeah. And finally, you have the awe state, using remotably, or bigerum huneta.
The maid of Huneta. So think about why those specific cognitive safety valves even exist in the first place.
Cognitive safety valves. I like that phrasing.
A broadcaster basically has a fraction of a second to translate visual data into a compelling audio narrative.
Right, they have to synthesize it instantly.
Yeah. If a striker completely misses an open goal in, say, the 3rd minute of a match,
Oh, man.
right, the commentator might just use the baseline state, just report it.
Because there's plenty of time left to fix the mistake.
Exactly. But if that same striker misses that exact same open goal in the 89th minute of a knockout game,
Oh, that's completely different.
right, the commentator immediately deploys the disbelief state. Yimetamen nu.
Unbelievable.
Yes. The physical event is identical. Guy kicks ball misses net. But the language shifts to capture the altered reality of the stakes.
It's wild when you think about it. Those modifiers operate incredibly similarly to a musician using a distortion pedal.
Oh, a distortion pedal. That's a really good analogy.
Think about it. If you have a clean guitar signal, it's just a raw, uncolored sound wave.
It just exists.
Exactly. But the moment you step on that distortion pedal, it instantly changes the crunch, the tone, the entire frequency of the note that follows.
Right. It colors everything that comes out of the amp.
Yes. It primes the listener's brain. When you hear a commentator inhale sharply and yell, "Yemetamen nu," unbelievable. Your heart rate literally spikes before your brain even fully processes what happened on the pitch.
That's so true. Your body reacts to the modifier first.
Exactly. The language is physically altering your state of suspense.
That distortion pedal alters the emotional frequency of the information. And, establishing that frequency is incredibly vital before a ball is even kicked.
Oh, setting the stage.
Yeah. Commentators have to build the atmosphere while the players are literally just standing in the tunnel.
Right. Nothing is actually happening yet.
Nothing. So let's examine how the lexicon approaches the static energy of the stadium itself.
This part of the source material was amazing. We have the English phrase, a sea of color in the stadium seats.
Yeah, which is a standard, almost cliche broadcast line.
You hear it every weekend.
Every single weekend. But the bilingual translation here gets genuinely poetic.
It really does. The Amharic provided is B Stadium Wembarak Le Yetelieu Kalamat Gorf Yitail.
Let's break that down.
So the English uses sea of color, but the Amharic word there, gorf, doesn't actually mean sea, right?
No, not at all. Gorf literally translates to a flood or a surge.
A flood.
Yeah. Think about the difference. A sea is vast, it's deep, and it's relatively static.
It just sort of sits there.
It just exists. But a flood is dynamic.
It implies movement.
Exactly. It is kinetic, overwhelming energy that washes over barriers.
Oh, wow.
If you look at the architecture of a modern World Cup stadium, the undulating movement of the fans, the massive flags waving around, the physical bounce of the stands when everyone jumps.
Yes, when the whole stadium is literally shaking.
Right. The Amharic captures the visual poetry of a crowd that is in constant surging motion.
That is so much more evocative than sea.
It isn't sitting passively like a sea. It is flooding the visual and auditory space of the arena.
The word flood feels so much closer to the physical reality of being in that space. Like, it is deafening in there.
Totally deafening.
And right in the middle of that overwhelming flood of sensory input, we hit the emotional anchor right before kickoff.
The anthems.
The anthems. The lexicon gives us the national anthems are playing with pride. Or, in Amharic, Biherawi Mizmarok Bakurat Ietazemaru Nu.
The inclusion of the word kurat, meaning pride, is really interesting here.
How so?
Well, it establishes the baseline of respect. Whether the broadcaster applies the awe modifier to it, like Bamali Jeram Huneta, remarkably, the anthems are playing with pride.
Right, adding that reference.
Yeah. Or if they just state it as a fact, the language grounds the listener. For those brief 2 minutes, the collective emotional unity of the stadium is entirely aligned.
Everyone is on the exact same page.
Exactly.
But once that anthem ends and the referee blows the whistle, that collective unity just fractures instantly.
Instantly. Game on.
Game on. The raw emotion of the anthems gives way to pure geometry.
A tactical shift.
Yeah. The lexicon highlights this transition to the tactical battle with the phrase, "A tactical chess match is expected today."
A classic commentator line.
For sure. In Amharic, it's "Zar yi taktik yi chess chawade yetbikal."
Which is pretty direct.
It is. But here's a question for you, and it's something I was thinking about while reading the source. Does treating a fluid, spontaneous sport like football as a chess match strip away the romance of the game?
Oh, that's a great question.
Because, by injecting highly technical jargon right after the whistle, are commentators making the broadcast just way too clinical?
You know, that tension between romance and analytics is the defining shift in modern sports broadcasting.
It really is.
Think about it. 20 years ago, commentary was overwhelmingly focused on narrative.
Heroes, villains, passion.
Exactly. Passion, desire, who wanted it more, simple action. But today, linguistic data suggests that modern fans actually demand tactical literacy.
They want to know the mechanics.
Yes. They want to see the underlying matrix of the game. Understanding the spatial geometry of a defensive shape doesn't ruin the magic trick for them.
Right.
Knowing how the trick is designed actually enhances the viewer's appreciation of the execution.
That makes sense. It's like appreciating the brushstrokes on a painting, not just the picture itself.
Exactly. So let's look at how that execution is described in the lexicon. We have the phrase zonal marking versus man-to-man marking.
Ah, yes. The translation for this is brilliant. The lexicon translates this as Yizon mekalakea kiso biso mekalakea gar.
Notice how structurally clear the Amharic translates these spatial concepts.
Walk me through it.
So, Yizon is zonal, obviously. Mekalakia is defense.
Got it.
But kiso biso literally means from person to person.
From person to person. I love that.
It visualizes the physical tethering of one player to another. It's not just man-to-man as an abstract concept. It's a literal person-to-person connection on the pitch.
It feels very physical.
It does. And then we have the phrase, exploiting spaces behind the fullbacks.
Which is translated as Bitekalakayo Jerba Yaluten Kifet Bodawak Medicam.
Yes. This translation gives the distinct sense of utilizing the open, empty voids behind the defenders.
The empty voids.
The language here is surgical. The pitch is treated as a literal blueprint of shifting zones.
The blueprint analogy is perfect.
Yeah.
Especially when we look at the rise of data in commentary.
Oh, the data revolution.
Yeah. The lexicon includes this incredible phrase, XG favors the home side, where XG stands for expected goals.
Right, the holy grail of modern football stats.
Exactly. And the Amharic translation for this is a great case study in linguistics. It's XG, yemitipiku gibosh, lebalamedo yadalau.
Yeah, look at that very first word.
It is literally just the English letters X and G transliterated into the Amharic alphabet.
XG. It is a phenomenal snapshot of how languages absorb new international metrics in real time.
It happens so fast.
It does. Football operates as this globalized meta-language. When a new statistical concept like expected goals, which is, a mathematical probability model born out of the data revolution.
Right, the nerds taking over the sport.
Yes, exactly. When that takes over the analytical world, it sweeps across the globe faster than local academies can invent completely new colloquialisms for it.
So the broadcaster just adopts the phonetic acronym XG.
Yes, but they immediately qualify it with the direct semantic translation, yemitipeku gibach.
Which means expected goals.
Right. They do that so the listener isn't left behind by the jargon.
It's like throwing them a lifeline.
Exactly. It bridges the gap between the international data analysts in London or Madrid and the local fan tuning in from Addis Ababa.
It shows a language actively digesting a foreign concept right before our ears.
The commentator is establishing the global terminology while anchoring it in native comprehension. It's brilliant work.
It really is. But, all of this spatial geometry, all of these expected statistical probabilities, they're just ghosts hovering over the pitch. They are theoretical frameworks.
Oh, definitely.
And theories don't win World Cups.
No, they don't. Goals do.
Exactly. Eventually, that slow, methodical language of retaining possession completely shatters.
The game opens up.
The tactical buildup turns into sheer kinetic violence. The lexicon pivots with the phrase, A sweeping counterattack from the back.
That's the moment everyone gets out of their seats.
Oh, absolutely. Or in Amharic, ke bestujerba yetenisa fatan yemoso matkat.
The crucial word there in the Amharic is fetan, which means fast or rapid. It contrasts so sharply with the slow, analytical vocabulary of the previous 60 minutes of the match.
Like flipping a switch.
Exactly. The tempo of the broadcast physically accelerates. The commentator's cadence increases. The sentences become shorter, much more fragmented.
The distortion pedal gets slammed down.
Slammed to the floor.
We are moving from the midfield chessboard right to the edge of the penalty box, to the most explosive language in the entire document.
The goal-scoring phrases.
Yes, the lexicon doesn't just say, he scored. It details the specific mechanics of the human body interacting with a moving sphere.
It breaks down the physics of the strike.
Right, he hits it on the volley, where he curls it beautifully into the top corner.
The Amharic mechanics here are incredibly visceral.
Let's talk about the volley first.
Sure. For the volley, the translation is Gwasun Seirishgif bi volley meta.
Okay, what makes that special?
The operative phrase is Serajif, which translates closer to without it stepping or without it touching down.
Without it stepping. Wow. That personifies the ball in such an elegant way.
It really animates the physics of the moment. Think about it. The ball is in flight, seeking a place to step or land.
Like it has agency.
Right. And the player intercepts its trajectory, striking it before it can touch the earth.
That's beautiful.
It captures the sheer athletic difficulty, the timing and spatial awareness required for a volley. Far better than the English word, actually.
Yeah, where does the English word volley even come from?
It has its roots in military terminology, like discharging a volley of arrows or weapons simultaneously.
So the English is military, and the Amharic is almost like a dance.
Exactly. A much more poetic physical description.
And when we look at the curled shot, Kosuon Azuro, Yilenya Yi Gibmazen Wisteserfiu.
The key word there is azuro.
Azuro.
Yeah, it delivers the physical rotational feeling of turning or curling the ball.
You can almost see the Magnus effect.
Yes. The spin of the panels on the football as it arcs through the air, bending around a wall of desperate defenders.
It's such a specific visual.
And then the verb eserfiu implies resting it or placing it into that top corner.
Resting it. I love that contrast.
It conveys violence. The strike itself, immediately followed by absolute precision, it's just resting in the net.
Speaking of violence, we have to examine one of the most culturally specific phrases in the English section of the lexicon.
Which one?
An absolute screamer from long range.
Yes. A classic piece of English football slang.
It really is.
The etymology there is fascinating. It relies entirely on the auditory imagination of the listener.
How do you mean, auditory?
Well, the idea is that the ball is hit with such terrifying velocity that it is literally screaming through the air, creating a sort of Doppler effect.
Like a jet engine going by.
Exactly, a screaming sound.
But you can't just literally translate a screaming ball into another language and expect it to carry the exact same emotional weight, right?
No, it would sound absurd. The ball is yelling.
Right. So the Amharic translation bypasses the auditory metaphor entirely and goes for a purely kinetic one.
What is it?
It's Keru Cricket Yetameda as Thanaki, you rocket mit.
Oh, man. You rocket mit.
Yes.
A rocket hit.
A screamer in London is a rocket hit in Addis Ababa.
That's perfect. Both phrases are trying to articulate a shot that defies the normal physics of the game.
A shot hit so hard, it honestly feels dangerous.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be in the way of it.
Definitely not. But as any football fan knows, the sport is ruthlessly symmetrical.
Oh, sadly, yes.
For every rocket hit, for every moment of individual brilliance, there is a catastrophic failure waiting on the other end of the pitch.
The psychology of the defender is uniquely fragile in football.
The lexicon includes the ultimate nightmare scenario for a defender, an own goal, complete disaster for the defender.
The worst feeling in sports.
In Amharic, it's Yiraskibber, Letekalakayu Fitsamwidkit.
Fitsamwidkit.
Think about the emotional reality of scoring an own goal. It isn't just making a routine mistake.
No, it's not a misplaced pass.
Imagine you are the best man at a wedding.
Okay, setting the scene.
You are carrying a massive, elaborate 4-tier wedding cake across a totally crowded dance floor.
Oh, no.
Everyone is watching you, hundreds of people, and you just trip over nothing and smash the cake right into the hardwood.
Just utter devastation.
Just silence, the isolation, the sheer unadulterated horror. You want the ground to physically open up and swallow you whole.
It is a profoundly lonely experience, and your analogy highlights exactly why.
Yeah.
Because in a team sport built on collective effort, the own goal isolates the individual completely. They're the only one who did it.
Be on an island.
And the language used to describe it in Amharic offers absolutely no comfort.
Zero comfort.
Fitsum-Whitkit translates to absolute failure or complete structural disaster.
Complete disaster.
It isn't framed as an error or a minor misstep. It emphasizes the totality of the collapse in that specific moment.
You ruined the cake.
You ruined the cake. But, the way we process those moments, both the brilliance and the disaster, has fundamentally changed in the last few years.
Oh, because of technology. Yes. If you are watching a game today and a striker hits a rocket into the top corner, the stadium erupts.
Absolute bedlam.
The commentators screaming, "Unbelievable! What a sensational goal!" But the celebration isn't actually real yet.
No, it's provisional.
The referee puts their finger to their earpiece.
This brings up a meta-categorization quirk within the lexicon itself that is honestly incredibly revealing about the modern state of the sport.
Oh, this is my favorite part of the source material.
It's so interesting. If you look at the document sections, phrases like, "what a sensational goal," and "the stadium erupts in celebration," are not categorized under goals and near misses.
Which is where you would expect them to be.
Right. But they aren't. They are actually categorized under referees, VAR, and discipline.
When I first read that, I'm not going to lie, it felt like a formatting error.
Like someone dragged and dropped the wrong folder.
Exactly. Why would the most joyful phrases in the entire lexicon be filed under discipline?
Because the creators of this document deeply understand the psychological reality of the video assistant referee era.
The VAR era.
Right. Every single sensational goal, every single eruption of crowd joy is now immediately followed by a breathless, anxious suspension of belief.
The joy is provisional.
It is completely provisional. It is no longer instantaneous and final. It is intrinsically tied to the technology of discipline.
You celebrate for exactly 2 seconds, and then
Yeah.
you just stare at the referee to see if you're allowed to keep celebrating.
It's painful. The lexicon introduces this second phase of drama with phrases like, VAR is checking for a potential handball.
Which is translated as VA Linor Yumichilawin Yiyekwas Yorigajay Nu.
Think about the atmosphere shift. The sheer acoustic energy of the stadium, that massive flood of colors we talked about earlier, is suddenly put on pause.
Someone hits mute on the stadium.
Yes. A completely new, highly suspenseful drama unfolds around a man in a booth looking at a monitor. He is literally regulating the emotion of 80,000 people.
And the emotional whiplash of the reversal is devastating.
Devastated.
We have the phrase, "The decision is overturned after review." Waviznu Kemamara Bawala Tishirawal.
The distortion pedal gets ripped straight out of the amplifier.
Just unplugged mid-song.
Yes. Broadcasters have had to invent entirely new rhythmic pacing to describe this phenomenon.
Because they have to manage the sudden deflation of millions of listeners in real time.
Exactly. The law steps in to rewrite history. And, it's not always just about goals being overturned.
Right.
Sometimes the discipline is focused on the darker psychological aspects of the game.
The dark arts.
The dark arts. The lexicon outlines the language of deception. His simulation was caught. That's a yellow card.
Now, in English, simulation is such a sanitized, bureaucratic piece of vocabulary.
It's very sterile.
It sounds like software testing.
Mhm.
We ran a simulation.
Yeah.
It completely masks the human element of what is actually happening on the pitch.
They are diving.
Right. But the Amharic translation completely strips away that corporate jargon.
Oh, it does. The Amharic is Lomesha Memsilu Takobetal, Bichakard Yasiketal.
Break that down for me.
The specific phrase for simulation is Lelemeshoet Mensilu. This carries a significant philosophical weight.
Philosophical weight.
Yeah, it literally translates to something closer to appearing or pretending as if not playing.
Pretending as if not playing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It directly calls out the performance aspect of the deception. The player isn't just breaking a rule in a rule book, they are breaching the social contract of the game by faking an injury to manipulate the referee.
It is a literal description of the theatrical act.
Uh-huh.
You were faking it and you got caught.
Exactly. You stopped playing football and started acting.
And when that deception, or maybe a genuinely dangerous tackle, goes way too far, the punishment is absolute.
The ultimate sanction.
The phrase is a straight red card. He is sent off.
Katita key card. Committed to Senabete.
Committed to Senabete.
Yeah.
He is dismissed from the field. It's an exile.
It is the ultimate disciplinary finality within the confines of the match. The player physically ceases to exist in the context of the game.
They are just gone.
Gone. But, eventually the confines of the match themselves must end.
The clock runs out.
The 90 minutes expire. The VAR checks are finally concluded. The red cards are issued. The geometry of the tactical chess match dissolves.
And the sheer physical exertion of the players turns into permanent history.
It's a huge transition.
The transition that happens at the final whistle is just profound. How does the vocabulary shift from describing frantic, immediate physical action to suddenly constructing a permanent historical legacy?
Well, the language undergoes an absolute collapse of nuance.
A collapse.
Yeah. The gray areas, the expected goals, the tactical debates, the provisional VAR decisions, all of that just vanishes.
Because the result is final.
Exactly. The lexicon provides the pivotal anchor, the whistle blows, it's all over.
Fishkal Tenefa, Hulam Neger Ebixwal.
Hulam Neger Bitwal, everything is finished.
And the very next emotional state captured in the lexicon highlights the stark reality of the tournament format, right?
It really does.
It says, heartbreak for one nation, pure joy for another. Or Leyen Herger, Libyemizibir, Ladila Degmo Fitsendista.
It becomes entirely binary, zero-sum.
The relativity of the game collapses into an absolute outcome.
And in that exact second, the broadcasters must transition their role entirely.
They aren't just calling the game anymore.
No, they are no longer play-by-play announcers tracking a ball. They instantly become myth makers.
Myth makers, I like that.
They are drafting the very first rough copy of sporting history.
You definitely see that pivot in the phrases used to instantly elevate the players. The lexicon gives us an absolute classic that will be remembered forever. And they defended like heroes until the final second. The deployment of those specific words right at the final whistle cements the memory in real time.
Yeah. Jigna meaning hero, and Tarakawina meaning historical.
By injecting these culturally heavy terms the moment the physical exertion ends, the commentator is signaling to the listener, do not forget where you were today.
Right. What you just witnessed is no longer a game of football. It is an epoch.
It elevates exhausted people, standing on a grass pitch, into immortal figures in the span of a single sentence.
It's powerful stuff.
And it all culminates in the ultimate image, the singular reason. All of this language, all of this statistical analysis, and all of this emotion exists in the first place.
The trophy lift.
The trophy lift. The captain lifts the trophy in glory.
The
captain raised the cup in honor.
That trajectory from the tactical blueprint in the first minute to the kinetic violence of a rocket hit, through the anxiety of the referee's monitor, all the way to a piece of metal being lifted into the air is universally understood.
It really is.
Even if the morphological roots of the words used to describe it vary wildly from continent to continent.
So true. If you've ever felt your stomach drop when the opposition goes on a counterattack.
Oh, the worst feeling.
Or felt that massive surge of relief at the final whistle. You know the exact emotional frequencies this lexicon is trying to map out.
Absolutely.
This document isn't just a translation guide for 300 vocabulary words. It really isn't. It reveals the underlying architecture of how human beings experience the world's most popular sport.
Spot on.
Whether a broadcaster is calling it a screamer or a rocket hit, whether they're describing the crowd as a sea of color or a dynamic flood, we're all just trying to assign language to the exact same feelings of hope, tension, and glory.
Football operates as a universal emotional framework. It's just spoken in magnificent, colorful local dialects.
It is the shared human condition playing out within the strict physical boundaries of a rectangle of grass.
Yeah, but, the language we use to process that condition is not neutral.
What do you mean by that?
Well, language inherently shapes our perception of reality.
Right.
The specific words we have access to dictate the boundaries of what we can feel and comprehend.
Because if you don't have the word for it, it's hard to conceptualize it.
Exactly. So consider this, and this is something for the listener to really chew on. If you only ever watch football, or frankly any global event, in a single language, are you actually only seeing half the pitch?
Oh, wow.
Right? What hidden nuances, what distinct cultural philosophies, or what deeper tactical truths might a third or a fourth or a fifth language reveal about the exact same 90 minutes of gameplay?
That is such a fascinating thought. You're basically trapped in your own linguistic perspective.
We all are, to some degree.
Well, the next time you sit down to watch a match and you hear the roar of that crowd wash over you through the screen, just imagine the thousands of completely different words, idioms, and metaphors being deployed across the globe in that exact split second.
All to describe the exact same pass.
The beautiful game is far larger than the vocabulary of a single language can hold.
It really is.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It was a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.